Hey team, welcome to the Active Directory password rotation module of this course. What we're going to be focusing on here are two key components. The first one will be Active Directory password rotation, and the second component is the Entra ID password rotation. Now, these are both very similar in concepts, but you're going to want to focus on the one that's particular to your organization. What I mean by this is you have to think about what the source of truth is for your organization. So the identity source of truth for most organizations would be Active Directory. I know we're doing a lot of things in Entra now, but Active Directory is typically the main source. You also want to consider the fact that you might have a one-way or two-way sync between Active Directory and Entra. So you don't want to be rotating passwords in Entra and not have them replicating down to Active Directory. Most of my customers will set up Active Directory password rotation. Everything will be done on-premise and then get synced up to the cloud. The main focus for a lot of my customers, in my opinion, when they're doing Entra password rotation, it's for accounts that are Entra only, so they don't exist in Active Directory at all. Once you've made a decision about where you're going to put password rotation, and it might be either one or it might be both Active Directory and Entra, you want to focus on getting it ready and working. And in the modules, you'll see some guides and whatnot of how to get that working. We're also going to hook up the password rotation to a quick policy so you can see how policies can be used for password rotation as well. You can use this for either Entra password rotation or Active Directory password rotation. And I'm not going to lie, it can be a little bit finicky to get working, especially with Entra. But as long as you have the core concepts understood about how your distributed engine functions and functions with Active Directory and Entra, then you should be pretty sweet to go. Now, just a heads up, I get a lot of problems with customers with their protected accounts. So some nested trees within Active Directory itself can have protected accounts, which means that you might get password rotation working one day, but then the next day you start having problems because Active Directory starts blocking the ability for you to rotate these passwords. There are guides that Delinea give you, but it's very specific to a lot of organizations. So I can't give you a very, very specific guide on how to achieve this for your organization. It's best to work with your own Active Directory team to overcome this issue and make sure that the service accounts that you've put in place to do the password rotation can carry out password rotation on both regular accounts and protected accounts. We want to make sure that the password rotation has the least privileges possible so that it can go and rotate privileged account passwords, but so that it doesn't actually become a security threat in your organization and get hijacked and be able to do all sorts of things that you don't want attackers to be able to do. So we're drawing that very, very fine line within this part of the course. The last part of the subject that I wanted to touch on is the way that the distributed engine interacts between these two platforms. So you can see that the Delinea platform will try and do password rotation, which is carried out by your distributed engine. If you're doing this on-prem with Active Directory, it'll reach straight to your domain controller, the nearest one, and try and do this password rotation with the service account that you would have established already. Then the distributed engine will go and check with a heartbeat to make sure that the password rotation worked. If it doesn't, you'll get an error in the console. Then you can see that the UI is then updated with this new information. So you can see that the account is then being checked and that the password rotation is correct. If you're having issues, you can go and check the RPC logs within Delinea and break down exactly why an account might not get rotated. If we have a look at the Entra example, we can see it's almost exactly the same, except instead of using the domain controller to rotate passwords, we're using the Graph API. So during the setup, you'll see exactly how we configure one of these applications within Entra to communicate with your distributed engine and use a service account being set up within Delinea itself, so that the service account can utilize the distributed engine, hook into the Graph API, and go and make the changes within your Entra environment. Great. All right, good luck.